Now on to our mission. Great men of the past, men such as Galileo, Newton, and Copernicus, brought science out of the dark misunderstanding of Ptolemy. Now in our modern age, it has been rescued once again from Huxley, Darwin, and Sagan. And now we are free to explore from a creation perspective.
It still amazes me. It testifies of God's mercy that He gave us such a beautiful home.
Then why do some people hate Him?
That's a good question.
The Earth is 12,756.2 kilometers in diameter, with a landmass of over 149 million square kilometers. There are approximately 7 billion human persons inhabiting the Earth.
That's enough for every person to have 1.6 acres of their own space. That's a lot of land.
And they say we're overpopulated.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Dad used to say that finding water near the surface of the moon would undermine the thought that the moon was really old.
Why do you think that is, Priscilla?
He said the solar winds would have vaporized the water long ago if the moon was millions of years old.
And he would be right. You know, your father was instrumental in getting these missions off the ground. He was a great man of God as well as of science, and he believed with his whole heart that the biblical account of creation was true. Lieutenant Andrews, prepare to fire the turret gun.
Yes, sir. Firing up the Second Amendment.
Wow, Danton, that's actually a good name for a change.
Thanks. I thought of it myself.
Hey Danton, on the fourth day God created the sun.
This is found in Genesis 1.
Without the sun there'd be no fun.
No green grass or trees or flowers.
No animals or life, no oxygen or hours.
If millions of years pass between,
Day 4 of creation and day 3,
how can plant life survive?
millions of years of darkness and night.
Bravo, guys. Where did you learn that?
It was a poem our mom taught us to help us to remember the many arguments against the day equals millions of years theory.
There was a time when many men compromised the clear teaching of the Bible to be accepted by the science of their day. Some still hold to this archaic way of thinking, but as our view of biblical creation grew, our understanding of the cosmos grew along with it.
I suppose Satan has always been trying to deceive people, even Christians, which reminds me of the verse that says there's nothing new under the sun. No pun intended, of course.
Sure.
But it still amazes me that people fall for this stuff.
It amazes you, Priscilla, because God has been merciful to you and has opened your eyes to make His truth plain to you. But we can't forget to have compassion on those who are still blind because they literally can't see the truth. To them, it is foolishness.
So if they can't see and they can't understand, then there's no hope for those people, right?
I remember in history class that there was a movement around the turn of the century where people said they thought the Earth was warming because of fossil fuels.
I bet if they were here right now, they would understand very well what heats the Earth.
Okay, you can let go now.
How did that get in there?
Someone put it in there.
We don't build with Chinese-made parts.
No, sir, we don't.
Captain, we're passing Mercury and we should be able to see it to the front and left.
Yep, I see it.
It's so small. According to evolutionary theory, weren't all the planets supposed to be the same size?
Yes, they are supposed to be, but obviously we can see they are not.
So how did evolutionists get around that problem?
Wait, let me guess. Some mysterious rock coming from who knows where bumped into it, causing the vast majority of the planet to crumble away into space, leaving what we know as Mercury.
You're exactly right, Lieutenant. I'm impressed.
No way, that's a ridiculous theory.
What is even more ridiculous is that the molten core generates the magnetosphere. Had there been a collision, what we see now would be the core, and it's obviously not molten.
And it obviously has a magnetosphere, which means that their theory is impossible.
That's what it means.
By the way, I meant to tell you. I ran into an old friend the other day and she brought up a really interesting question. She asked me, why would God make the world look old if it's not? Wouldn't that make God look deceptive?
And what did you say?
Well, I didn't really know what to say. I just told her that the Bible says it was created in 6 days, a little over 6,000 years ago.
You know, I've never really understood that theory. Wouldn't it be more deceptive for God to say that He created the world in 6 days if He didn't?
Right. I wish I thought of that.
Well, maybe you'll get a chance to talk to her again.
There's no way anything could live here. In fact, sis, it's kind of like how I've imagined hell would look.
What about it makes you think it looks like hell?
Well, there's lava flows running down the mountains, sulfur in the air, and it's dark due to the thick atmosphere, not to mention the extreme heat and pressure.
As far as I'm aware, the Bible never says anything about lava. It does mention the heat, however, as well as the darkness. And the Bible isn't lacking on information about hell. In fact, Christ preached more on hell than he did on heaven.
I've never really understood something. If God is such a good God, why would he create a place of torment like hell?
It's because God is a good God that he created hell, because he created it for the devil and his angels. But also men sin against God, and therefore God must punish them for their sins after they die. So hell is where they go for that punishment.
But God saves some people.
Yes, he does, because God is so merciful. Without God's mercy, no one would be saved. And actually, hell is so terrible because it's a place that separates the soul from God and his mercy.
All I know is this is a very intimidating place.
I imagine it is, and I can see why it might make you think of hell. So we can thank the Lord that he gave us a beautiful home like Earth, unlike Venus where life would be impossible.
You know, some people used to think that Venus used to be exactly like Earth. They think there must have been some runaway greenhouse effect, which dried up all the water, killing everything that existed and leaving Venus uninhabitable.
Venus does have a greenhouse effect, but the thick atmosphere has been in place since the planet was first observed and has not changed any in all that time.
So the rest was just speculation to prop up a theory of how it might have happened on Earth?
Exactly, which is what the majority of evolutionary theory did.
Captain, I've been noticing that Venus spins in a different direction from Earth and most other planets.
Yes, according to their theory.
So what happened? A giant planet-like rock bumped into Venus too?
Now, actually, some said that it did. Others said that it flipped its poles due to runaway geological processes.
So now what do they say happened to make it reverse its spin?
They say it had a giant bump like a hunchback that caused the planet to spin wobbly until it balanced itself out in a reverse spin.
Wow, this just keeps getting better and better.
Unfortunately, the more we came to know evolutionary theory, the more we realized that instead of science, it is really a religion, but only a religion that will not recognize that there is a God who created it all.
A friend once asked the question, why can't we believe both the Bible and evolution? I knew there were a lot of inconsistencies, but I really didn't know how to answer her question.
We can't believe both because evolution involves millions of years of death and decay before Adam was ever created. We know from the Bible that death comes through sin, and since Adam was created perfect, then death before sin is an impossibility.
Wow, that's a pretty good answer. I wish I had thought of that. If death happened before sin entered the world, then the whole Bible would be meaningless.
You're exactly right. That's why this mission is so important. We must do all that we can to uncover the truth about the universe that God created. You two aren't the first to get excited about Mars. For decades, evolutionary scientists attempted to find signs of life there. You see, according to evolutionary theory, which held that the universe is nearly 15 billion years old, the Earth was not unique. So if life evolved on the Earth, it should have evolved elsewhere. As a result, they spent billions of dollars trying to find signs of life on Mars.
But of course they never found it.
Not a single strand of DNA or any precursor to life. Most people today would laugh at the idea of life on Mars.
We're on our way down now. So what is it we'll be testing the soil samples for? Signs of alien life?
That would definitely be a wild goose chase. We'll be testing for perchlorate, which is a powerful oxidizing chemical that breaks down organic matter and would make life on Mars very unlikely.
We already know that there couldn't be life on Mars, so why are we testing for this?
Well, there are still some that won't let go of their hopes to find life here. If we prove that the soil contains high levels of perchlorate, their arguments will have no foundation. Both of you are correct about the water erosion.
I'm sure you're aware of this, Captain, but there's no water down there.
You may need to brace yourselves for this, but for decades, evolutionary scientists, the same ones who still scoff at the idea of a global flood on Earth, believed that Mars was mostly covered by water in the past.
Hold on. They consider erosion on Mars to be caused by flowing water when there isn't even a drop of liquid water down there? And refuse to believe that the Earth was flooded even though it's mostly covered with water?
Yes, seriously, I'm not making this up. That was their theory.
It's hard to prove a theory when you don't have any evidence to help you.
Everything is so different from the Earth. It makes you think about the stars and planets and galaxies out there. The universe is mind-blowing.
That definitely makes the old Big Bang Theory sound ridiculous. How can anyone believe that all the matter in the universe exploded out of one single speck?
Well, some are unwilling to accept that God exists because he would hold them accountable for their actions. They would prefer no higher authority.
So they come up with theories to try to explain away God?
Right, no matter how strange or unbelievable, they need those theories to defend their denial of God's existence.
So really their theories are based on faith that there isn't a God.
And we believe in the creation account in Genesis because of our faith in God.
That's right. Evolutionists used to claim that their theories were science, while creationism was religion. You just pointed out why that isn't true.
Science isn't about origins. It's about what we can observe and experiment with now, like this soil sample we just finished collecting. It's almost infinite.
Almost, but not quite, because only God is infinite. What is truly impossible to comprehend is that God created everything in the universe, all the billions of galaxies with their billions of stars, in just 6 days by the word of His power.
God is so much more powerful than we can comprehend. He created every atom in the universe in the very beginning, but He existed for all eternity before the universe was even here.
Probe is away, Captain.
Excellent. Priscilla, we are looking for a core. There are models of the past that suggest there should be a core, but keep in mind that most of these were derived from evolutionary models.
The probe is getting close to the center. The pressure is rising, but so far no solid core detected.
I want to go down there.
The sensors indicate that the atmosphere is mostly made of hydrogen and helium. In fact, the specific density is very low. It's mostly gas.
According to evolution, gas giants shouldn't be here at all.
Yet here it is, and it's a little too big to miss.
There you go again, picking on those poor evolutionists.
Well, it's survival of the fittest, right?
Actually, we must continue studying God's creation to counter that worldview. And we must believe that when God said that He created the world in 6 literal days, He meant it. The heart of man is bent toward believing a lie, so we must constantly reveal the truth. This is the closest anyone has ever been to Uranus.
I was doing some research. The whole thing is spinning on its side.
I know, it's really strange. I think the evolutionists got it wrong.
I think so too. According to their theory, all of the planets should spin in the same direction. That is, if they were formed out of a disk of dust spinning around a central sun. But there's never been any real evidence for that theory.
I was reading up on it. They said the particles just stick together, but we know they can't just stick together. There has to be something to make them stick.
The dust would need to be almost still for that to happen. Besides, where did the dust come from to begin with?
All valid questions, just like why does Venus spin the wrong way, and why is Mercury so small?
And why do the gas giants exist at all?
Yeah, the ideal gas law says that as gas compresses, it also pushes back out. So what compressed the gas to form Uranus?
I think God created it like that.
That is as plausible an explanation as any I've heard.
Wait, you're telling me that Christ saw me specifically while He was being tortured on the cross? That He did it specifically for me?
He saw you before you were ever born. He willed your birth, and before He created the first atom, He knew that He would come and die for your sins.
I don't think I can get my mind around it. Why would He do that? Your next mission, you will go through the alleged Kuiper Belt into the interstellar medium, where you will recover Voyager 2.
What? They actually got permission to get it?
That old antique? What will we do with it once we have it?
It will be brought back and put into a museum, where everyone can learn that it is pointless to send probes for the sole purpose of trying to find life in other star systems.
That's a good reason.